everybody. Thank you for joining us to this live stream celebration of our new album. And this album is called The Healing Powers of The Healing Powers of 40 Hertz, Volume 5. And the subtitle is Global Piano for Focus and Memory. And this album is the 7th album that we've created with Metta mindfulness music. And 7 is a big number. 7 is a cycle, the 7 days of the week. It's also a sacred number. And reaching the 7th album in this catalog feels really special for me. And so let's begin with the album trailer. We'll get familiar with the music, with the story behind this album. And then Dr. Richard Gold is with us, and he and myself will share with you our observations and our experiences with working on this very important project for us, Global Piano for Focus and Memory. Here is the trailer. 40 Hertz Volume 5 is a new album featuring the pianist Ruslan Sirota, a wonderful, wonderful master pianist who came to my studio to record along a soundscape that I created with musicians from India, Iran, Armenia, and Israel. Beautiful, enchanting landscapes of sound. And Ruslan played his piano, improvising and responding to all those musical lines that I composed to the other instruments. And his responses and the way he communicated through the piano was just wonderful. It was magical. And this music is written in the key of 40 Hertz. The 40 Hertz sound has been shown to improve motivation and focus, improve cognitive function, memory, reaction times, and verbal recall. Recent MIT research suggests that 40 Hertz may help not only Alzheimer's disease patients, but also people battling other diseases such as multiple sclerosis. 40 Hertz Volume 5, Global Piano for Focus and Memory. Okay, thank you, Zach, for playing this trailer and showing us Ruslan, the great pianist, Ruslan Sirota, that is really the leading performer of this music. And this album not only have beautiful music that are relaxing and soothing and inspiring, because there's all those layers and interesting sounds. It also have 3 layers of 40 Hertz sound, which has been shown to improve concentration, focus, and memory. And so there's Binaural Beats sound, which you can receive through headphones. These are the subliminal sounds of 40 Hertz. And even if you don't listen to it through the headphones, you still receive two layers of 40 hertz sounds. One layer is the bass tone, which is actually 40 hertz vibrating throughout the whole album. And all the music is composed to work with that bass drone at 40 hertz. Then all the musical material which I composed for the musicians is all composed in the key of 40 hertz. So it works with 40 hertz. Once in a while, the musicians actually play the 40 hertz note, and mostly they play the higher harmonics, the higher partials of 40 hertz, because every sound is made from what we call the fundamental or the bass note, and then there's the higher harmonics that give the color and the tone to each note. And so these are the higher harmonics which the musicians are playing as part of the composition. So we have three layers of 40 hertz tones in this composition. Now, for me, this album was a great opportunity to work with one of the most outstanding jazz pianists of this generation, and this is Ruslan Sirota, who recorded with Chick Corea and George Duke, and the bass player of Chick Corea. His name escapes me right now, but he played with some of the greatest jazz musicians in the world, and he is one of the leading pianists nowadays in jazz. He's the touring pianist of Larry Carlton. As we speak, he's in the middle of a concert tour with his own band in Italy. If you are in Italy or in Europe, go and hear Ruslan Sirota band. And the idea to have Ruslan on this album came from Dr. Richard Gold, who really asked me to do another album with Ruslan, because we already did one 40 hertz album with Ruslan Sirota, which is called The Healing Powers of 40 Hertz Volume 3, which is all with soothing jazz ballads, which Ruslan recorded for us on Volume 3. And since that album, Dr. Gold told me, I think we should do another album with Ruslan. And I wanted to invite Dr. Richard Gold to the conversation and to share with us, what was your insights about the quality of the tone or the artistry of Ruslan? Why did you felt that we should do another album with him? And how do you see this whole album with Ruslan? What does it means for you?
Thank you so much, Yuval. I'm so happy to be here and welcome everybody. Working with Ruslan on that original album was so inspiring. Now, on that album, he was working with music that Yuval composed for him to play solo piano. He performed it masterfully, and it achieved what we wanted, which was a quality of music that's so easy to listen to and yet has this therapeutic value. I want to speak a minute about, because we're mentioning 40 hertz, 40 hertz, 40 hertz, but not everybody's initiated in this idea. And quite frankly, it's fairly new, even in the realm of neuroscience, which is that when the brain is cycling at 40 hertz, this is when we're most alert. This is when our brain is integrated in the most dynamic manner. And this is when the brain is actually not only firing at optimal levels, but also has the ability to cleanse itself. And a lot of this interest in 40 hertz derived from study of cognitive impairment, dementia, and moderate to severe Alzheimer. Because it was noted by scientists, especially at MIT, that when people were in cognitive decline, they lacked gamma, specifically 40 hertz activity in their brains. And then they realized if we can actually use brain entrainment, which is to provide sound and music and beats or light, where the brain will begin to cycle with the dominant influence that it's receiving, it can come back to gamma. Within gamma, which is a wide range of 30 to 120 hertz or beats per second, it's actually precisely at 40 hertz that something almost magical or mystical and certainly therapeutic happens to the brain. And so when we learned about this, and we also learned that in the research that was being done, they were just playing a raw tone of 40 hertz, which is like a rumble. It's a low bass, which in animal studies, they're not going to complain, but really want to get efficacy and really provide therapeutic value for a wide range of humanity, we had to have something beautiful to listen to. So this is the gamma. This is the 40 hertz within the gamma range. So the mission of our Metta Mindfulness Music project or business together is to promote meditative consciousness and mindfulness and healing, and using the word metta from Sanskrit meaning loving kindness. Because the more at peace we are, the more loving we're going to be towards ourselves and each other. So when you've all had these world music tracks, which are delightful, and we were able to capture Ruslan between tours where he could come to studio, we decided that this was the matrix, the environment we wanted to place him in. And rather than working with a score for him to play, he actually had not heard the music prior to sitting at the piano. And everything that is recorded and available for you to listen to was captured in one take. Now, I believe this is important because it's in the DNA of this production now, which is for Ruslan to do what he did, he had to be in a heightened meditative state. He had to be absolutely in the moment. And that's a lot of what we seek to achieve when we meditate. We don't want to be worrying about the past or dwelling on past events or fearing the future. We want to be in the moment, breath in, breath out. And that's where Ruslan is. That's where this music production is. And you listen to it, it helps bring you to that place of meditative awareness, being in the moment, and the incredible benefit of the 40 hertz gamma vibrations. A little more science, I think, is helpful because what's been noted is that the brain actually starts to cleanse better. And this, both in sleep and in deep meditation, activates something called the lymphatic system. And this was only discovered fairly recently through MRI studies where we could see the brain in real time, which is when we're in this deep state, the brain shape actually changes and small rivulets of lymphatic drainage open up. And this is how the brain cleanses itself from the metabolic ash and toxins through the cerebral spinal fluid, which are part of any metabolic process. You're always going to get some ash. And then when these accumulate in the brain, we call them tau proteins and amyloid plaques. And research has shown on animal studies where they've been bred to have dementia and Alzheimer, that after they've been exposed to 40 hertz sound and light, and they euthanize and then check the brains, the plaques and the tau proteins have dissipated. And so this is the potential that we see happening with 40 hertz. And because cognitive decline and dementia are such a growing avalanche or tidal wave of problems that we're about to face, that this very benign, non-toxic, even almost passive way of helping the brain to achieve a better state of health and vitality is absolutely essential. That's my short answer to your question.
This is wonderful. This is so interesting. I'd like to add something from my department of the music production to share with the listeners and the viewers a little bit about the process of creating it. So once Dr. Gold gave me the mission and the science and the explanations of what we need to do with the 40 hertz music, for this particular album, what I did is I assembled small little fragments of themes that I recorded for other albums of Metta Mindfulness music. And in some cases for my own music, film music, or Yuval Ron ensemble music. And I collected short phrases of master musicians that we worked with on other projects. Some of them are from India, some of them are from Iran, some of them are from Israel, some of them are from Armenia. So we got this cadre of caliber musicians playing beautiful, beautiful music of some of it on the bansuri wooden flute, some of it on the Persian tar, which is a small string instrument. I have one track with an oud and kanun, and there's the sitar, of course, and other wooden flutes. And so I created a soundscape with those phrases, those musical elements. And it was really like a collage, a musical collage that I created all on top of a 40 hertz drone. And then my assistants at the time, Chi Ming and Leon Chang, worked with me on arranging those elements together to create this beautiful tapestry of ethnic music, world music from India and Iran, Armenia, and in Israel. And then I called Ruslan, and I he said, do you have the notes for the composition? I said, no, I never cared to write out the notes because I created it as a musical collage. And he said, okay, I'll be at the studio next week with you and we'll see what we can do. He came to the studio. I had 9 musical pieces, each one 5 minutes long, so it's about 45 minutes of music, a little bit longer. And I I had him sit by the piano and listen to the first piece. And he listened, and I told him, do you hear the tar playing the string? Do you hear the bansuri playing the flute? I want you to echo them. I want you to talk to them, respond to them, converse with the other instruments through the piano. That's the concept of this album. Just converse with them. And he said, okay, we can do it. Let's begin. Let's begin recording. And he sat there and really got into the moment. As you say, Dr. Gold, he was really so intense. I saw his head starting to move, in ecstatic motions. He was so like a bird over the keys, and he was so in the music. There was nothing around it. And he managed to be so much in the moment that every note that he played was a perfect note. There was never a mistake or something from outside of the key or something that didn't sound right or something that didn't sound like a belong to the music. It was so beautiful and so magical. And another thing about Ruslan Sirota is he has a very tender and gorgeous touch, I would say. Really magical touch when he plays the piano. And I remember one anecdote when he started the first track, and I didn't hit record. He was just trying it for the first time. And he was listening to the instruments, and he told me something really profound about the piano. And if you are a piano player, you will understand. But this is something that music lovers don't really realize that if they're not really pianists. And Ruslan told me, oh, you listen to that bansuri flute. He's just playing one note, but he's breathing through it. It's just one note, so simple, but it's not boring. It's beautiful because the player is breathing his breath and changing his breath throughout that one note. And then you hear the tar, the plucked string, or the oud, or the sitar, and the musicians massage with their fingers, they massage the string and shape the sound, even though they just pluck one note. The sitar vibrates and create these textures of sound, and the musician just played one note. It's so simple, but the sound is complex. And that is part of ethnic strings and woodwinds sounds of instruments, and the piano doesn't have it because the piano, you hit a key, the key is triggering a hammer, the hammer hit a string, and that's it. The hammer cannot massage the string like the human finger massage the violin string or the oud string. The pianist cannot breathe through the sound. It can't be done. So piano is a very difficult instrument. It's in a way the most difficult instrument to be expressive through. And you have to have such an incredible artist to have the sensitivity to hit that hammer, to touch the keys in many different levels of pressure in order to create almost an illusion of complexity of tone. And of course, you can make various different tones, but each time you need to reattack, you need to hit it again in order to create more colors. And so the piano, he explained to me, Ruslan, that he would have to play more notes to achieve what the ethnic musicians could achieve with only 2 notes. So you would hear on the album, let's say you would hear the flute going, and the variety of the breath creates the sound. And then Ruslan responded with, he's creating maybe 10 notes to respond to 1 note from the ethnic Bansuri flute. So it was a really interesting insight that Ruslan pointed out during the beginning of the recording session. And what he created, I think, is a great achievement that is hard to appreciate. When you just listen to it, it sounds like beautiful music. But if you realize that the pianist is the only player on the recording that cannot use their breath for a variety of colors and cannot use their fingers touching the strings for a variety of colors. And so what he created is just so beautiful and so perfect. It's deceivingly simple. When you listen to it, it may sound simple what he's doing, but it's not. It's brilliant because he's not playing too many notes and he doesn't play too little notes. Just like when you listen to Mozart, you cannot take out any note and you cannot add any note. It's just perfection. And somehow in this session, Ruslan went through 9 different tracks, 9 different compositions, and each one of them he played with the first take, 1 take, no repetition, no second recording, and everything was perfect. Everything was just perfectly balanced. And this is brilliance. He is an incredible pianist. I highly recommend people to check him out. His name is spelled Ruslan, Ruslan, and in his native Ukrainian is pronounced Ruslan, but we pronounce it Ruslan here in the States. And his last name is Sirota, Sirta. So this is all what comes to me about this process. I'm wondering, Dr. Gold, if you have any other reflections or any thoughts about the fact that this is the 7th album. We created 7 different albums of 40 hertz, and I feel this is an achievement. I don't know of anybody in the world, any company, any musicians in the world that have created to date, October 20th, 2024. I'm not aware of anybody on this planet that created a catalog of 7 different musical styles produced with master musicians, all in 40 hertz, all in different musical styles. This is, I think this is an incredible achievement and an important achievement we should celebrate. It means a lot to me. I'm going to announce it in my newsletter next month, in the November newsletter. I plan to celebrate it and announce it. And I'm wondering, how does it feel to you? What does it mean to you?
It means utter respect for you, for your creativity and your productivity and your musical vision. But it also fits into this model that we've discussed often together, which is for something to be therapeutic, because I'm a clinical practitioner of medicine, for something to be therapeutic for somebody, you have to have compliance. You might have the best medication or the best diet or the best supplement, but if it's just sitting on the counter or in the shelf, it has no efficacy. It's not going to have any benefit for you. And so with music, especially, because we want to approach the widest array of people, because the need to meditate or the desire to meditate, and certainly the cognitive decline doesn't segregate itself into particular work class, although sadly more women suffer from it than men at this point, that we had to provide a variety of styles to attract different listeners. And to that end, we have ambient music or new age music, we have world music, we have calming jazz, now we have global piano. We also have the world's first choral 40 hertz piece, which Yuval and I were in residency at BYU University in Utah, where we worked with the BYU singers. Coincidentally, we had 40 singers on stage doing the recording, and we had world premiere there. And this album has actually been nominated for the Grammys this year in the choral category. So this is our desire to reach out to as many people as possible. And we're not done. We're going to continue to produce. For the first 12 years of our work together, we were producing beautiful music for meditation, but we weren't familiar with gamma and 40 hertz. So all of our music was directed towards deepening meditations, going from beta to alpha to theta to delta. And these are wonderful productions. And they have applications for internal healing and for sleep and for stress. But now with 40 hertz and also the recognition of deepening understanding of how the brain's working, the combination of meditation and 40 hertz, we actually see the white matter, the myelin sheaths of the brain increase. We see better communication between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. There's just remarkable things that we're able to discover now by bringing what we're doing, which is ancient traditions and also modern sound, and then modern neuroscience and the magnificent potential of functional MRIs, where we can see the brain in real time. So this is very thrilling for me. I'm just so grateful that we were able to reach more and more people. We're very committed to working with scientists to research, to really see if we can actually, with the brain entrainment, get people's brains into 40 hertz gamma and sustain that over time. So this is a very exciting time. We feel like we're very much want to be in partnership with as many people around the globe as possible that have interest in this, both as consumers to use it, scientists to study it, and other artists to help create it. So it's a remarkably wonderful opportunity, and truly a blessing.
I have one question that I'd like to ask you regarding this particular question of compliance and musical styles. But before that, I want to invite everybody to ask us any question about this album and the work that we do. You can write in on the YouTube page in a comment. Just enter a comment and write the question, hit enter, and our producer, Zach, will see it and read that question to us. So while you are writing in all your questions on our YouTube page, I want to ask Dr. Gold why we are confident that having many musical styles would increase compliance, and why is it good for the patients to choose the kind of music that they like the most rather than the music therapist telling them what to listen to?
That's really based on data from a plethora of scientific research that you can see, especially with drug studies, that if a person has choice, not only does it make them feel better about being involved, but on the back end, the results are better. So if people feel empowered to make choice, and I think that part of this, and I'm going to say this with the greatest respect of the placebo effect, because in Western medicine studies, the placebo effect for so many years has been considered the fly in the ointment. It's what screws up data, and the statistics get skewed. But really, it's such an important part of the healing process. Our colleague, Dr. Ted Kapchuk at Harvard, is really leading the world in this placebo study. And it's one of the components of what activates this effect in the individual, in their mind, in their hearts, and in their souls, is if they have choice. They're not being told what to do, but they are a participant. There's not a hierarchy. They're part of the whole process. Then you get compliance. Because whether you're doing a study or if you're trying to work clinically for the benefit of your patients, you can make recommendations from now until the end of time that are maybe perfect for the person. But if they don't feel compliant, if they're not going to follow through, it's just hot air. It's just sand in the wind. It's a breeze blowing through. So this is an integral part of manifesting the benefit, the potential benefit. And then from a scientific point of view, it's what makes research solid. It gives you're actually able to accumulate data that can go over time. Because if you're supposed to do something every day and you do it every third day, your data is going to be skewed. You're not going to really find out what your scientific hypothesis is, what your questions might be. And what research has shown, again, is that if people have choice, not only does it raise the compliance, and so people are sticking with it, but it seems to also have a beneficial therapeutic effect also.
So let me mention to people where they can get all these 740 hertz music albums. The website is called Metta Mindfulness Music. Metta is spelled with double T, Metta, mindfulnessmusic.com. And in the homepage, there's a button called Brain Health. If you click on Brain Health, you will see all those albums for brain health with the 40 hertz, and you can choose the kind of music you like and enjoy it. We even have lo-fi chill hop, which is a kind of laid-back hip hop music for students, and many kind of musical styles for you. Let me go to Zach and see if there are any questions coming from the audience.
Yes, we have a few questions.
Okay.
Margaret would like to know, are headphones a must when listening to this music? And if so, what kind of headphones?
Okay, so the question was about headphones. If you need to hear it with headphones or not, and if yes, what kind of headphones? So the kind of music that we are producing, you can enjoy it without headphones. You can enjoy it with listening to it through the speakers, and that way you're getting 2/3 of the layers of 40 hertz. If you want to get the full impact of the 40 hertz with the binaural beats brain entrainment, that it bring the word is not manipulate, but it's kind of modulate the brain waves to 40 hertz. If you want to get that, you need to use the headphones. And headphones, any headphones would work, but the headphones should be wired. Wired earbuds are fine, wired headphones are fine, but not Bluetooth, cordless headphones, because the Bluetooth compress the sound and compromise some of the vibrations that we put into the music. And so that's the recommendation, wired headphones. Yes, Zach, we're ready for the second question, please.
Yes, Ryan would like to know, is it okay to stream this music on Spotify or YouTube, or should I download it instead?
Yeah, that's a great question. Should one stream this music on Apple Music or Amazon Music or YouTube or Spotify? You can do that, but you're going to get watered down, low resolution music, because all the streaming sound, all the music that you get from the internet is files called MP3, which is a file of music where they take out some of the vibrations and they give you just a little bit of what there is there. They take out some of it in order to get it to be streamed fast through the internet. We don't recommend that, because what we are providing is sound medicine, sound vibration. So you don't want to take some of the medicine and throw it away. You want to have all the vibration, all the medicine there. And so what we recommend is to download the files, which called WAV file, W-A-V dot, or without the dot, but it's not spelled with an E. WAV is W-A-V, files, high quality audio files. And you can download it from mettamindfulnessmusic.com. Again, it's METTA, mindfulnessmusic.com. You can get it all from that website, and you will get the high quality, full vibrations with all the impact that could affect your brain and help with your wellness, with your brain health, with everything, with focus, with concentration. So that is the recommendation.
I would like to add that absolutely I agree totally with Yuval. And the streaming services, it's still beautiful music, but it's not going to have the therapeutic benefit. So, if it's just a choice we can make as a consumer, or what your condition is. But it's still beautiful. But as Yuval said, because we layer our music and a lot of the therapeutic benefit, the beats the algorithm of the MP3 will strip that out because it's not essential for the music itself. But it's like what we do with nutrition in the West. You know, we strip out a lot of the things that are the most nutritious, but it still has the flavor. So that's something to consider. And if you do look for our music for streaming on Spotify, search it under Yuval Ron's name, more than Metta Mindfulness Music, because it'll be listed there, and Yuval's music he's done with his ensemble and his film music also. So it's delicious to hear anyway, but if you really want the therapeutic potential, the WAV file is the way to go.
Great. Zach, do we have any last question before we go to the album trailer?
Yes, we have one more question. Rachel would like to know, how does 40 hertz tuning differ from standard tuning?
Okay, so this is an interesting and kind of an inside conversation for musicians, but I'll just very briefly mention that if you want to do music at 40 hertz, which means that the low E, which is the lowest note on the bass, or the double bass or the electric bass, but that lowest note on that instrument is the note E1, and you can have E1 on the keyboard in the bottom of the left side of the keyboard on the piano. You have E, which we call it E1. That note needs to be tuned down about a quarter step down to be 40 hertz, because in Western tuning, which is 440 hertz, that note is about 41.3 hertz. So we need to tune all the instruments down to a tuning called 427.15 hertz. And the standard tuning of the orchestra in the West currently is A equal 440. In previous generations, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, in Europe, they tuned the orchestra to 438 or 436, sometimes even to 432. But we are talking about something even lower than that, which would be at 427.515 hertz. So this is really something that musicians understand, professional musicians will understand. And if you are a professional musician, you know, you may use this information. And if you have any questions, send me an email. I'll be happy to hear from you. My email is yuval@yuvalronmusic.com. It's spelled YUVAL @YUVALRONmusic.com. You can reach me also through Metta Mindfulness Music. You can reach Dr. Gold through Metta Mindfulness Music, Metta with double T. And we invite you to enjoy this music for well-being, for health, for pleasure, for meditation, for body work, for any kind of activity, creative activity. You can write poetry, dance to it. You can do your emails to it. It's a good thing to have in your life. Thank you, Zach, for producing our live stream, and we invite you all to watch the album trailer one more time to enjoy the artistry of Ruslan and to hear the story behind this album. "40 Hertz Volume 5 is a new album featuring the pianist Ruslan Sirota, a wonderful, wonderful master pianist who came to my studio to record along a soundscape that I created with musicians from India, Iran, Armenia, and Israel. Beautiful, enchanting landscapes of sound. And Ruslan played his piano, improvising and responding to all those musical lines that I composed to the other instruments. And his responses and the way he communicated through the piano was just wonderful. It was magical. And this music is written in the key of 40 hertz. "40 hertz sound has been shown to improve motivation and focus. improve cognitive function, memory, reaction times, and verbal recall. Recent MIT research suggests that 40 Hz may help not only Alzheimer's disease patients, but also people battling other diseases such as multiple sclerosis. 40 Hz Volume 5, Global Piano for Focus and Memory.